For any developing city or town, transport plays an incredibly important role as it determines how fast goods and information move. The Transport Precinct is the hub of Newtown's creative arts development and contains many buildings relating to the various eras of Joburg's transport history. The Old Johannesburg Licensing Department is currently occupied by the City of Johannesburg Directorate of Arts, Culture and Heritage.
The bus factory was built in 1913, and it was actually built for the trams that were running at that stage, which were single-decker trams on rails with an electric wire over. And they were brought into the bus factory for repairs. So it was a maintenance and repair workshop.
The old bus workshop is home to JDA, the Johannesburg Development Agency, which focuses on urban renewal and development. This is also where organizations such as the Artists Proof Studio, the Market Laboratory, Imbali and others are housed. It has become a center for the teaching, training and development of the creative industry, drama, fine arts and crafts and photography.
It seemed to me that there was the possibility of untapping a big source of talent. There were people who were really interested in photography, and by opening up a few doors to them, it would be possible for them to become fluent in photography.
The Artist Proof Studio started in 1991 by Kim Berman and her friend, who was an artist in Nklahla. And it was initiated as a way of getting artists from surrounding townships to come in and get some kind of formal education and access to a work environment where they could generate artwork.
The lab was a brainchild of the late Bunny Simon and Dr. John Kani. I think with the success of the Market Theatre in the 1970s and 80s, there was an overwhelming attention that the theatre got. And part of the people who came through were people who were not necessarily ready for going main stage. So the lab was created as a center that could cater for those people, help them develop, help them work more on their craft and their skill. Then out of that need, 2 years after the lab was formed in 1991, we then had a different call. People wanted to study drama. However, in between apartheid laws and people not being able to afford university fees, the lab saw a need to develop a school that would more or less be structured in manner that the university would function, however much more practical.
I think there's a very interesting give and take. People remember Newtown and they come back to it.
Design are critical to urban regeneration. I don't think you can do urban regeneration unless it has a little bit of a funky spirit that is going to go with it, because you need to capture people's imagination. There is really a can-do spirit in this city. It's one of those cities that just has that idea that we can do anything. And I think that if you don't have that, then it's very difficult to move on. But if you have that spirit, then whatever difficulties you face, and we've faced lots of difficulties, but because there is a spirit of commitment and a real belief in our own abilities to turn things around, we've been able to move forward.
Long before Newtown was fashionable as it is right now, a lot of institutions, like we came when there wasn't any security in the area, where it was literally just an open field and then buildings that were underdeveloped. So for us already, it was a means of coming to a certain area where it was about artistic expression. the creative industries, and specifically the performing arts, they play a major role in terms of economic development, economic growth within the Gauteng region. So having to have institutions like Moving Into Dance, like the Dance Factory and others, it's looking at giving people that opportunity of being actively and positively employed.
The young dancers, the choreographers, the administrators who've grown out of the organization and whose lives have been changed and who've changed other lives in their communities, who've taken their skills back into the communities and sometimes taken their skills overseas. I think this is, you know, the huge achievement.
The Dance Factory for me is my home. I grew up here. I mean, from the age of 11, I've been here. I would go away and study in Brussels, but I would always come here. This has always been a base for me. And at the moment, I am the artist in residence, so I have got space to choreograph, and I teach here. I work with children. I've always been able to come back here and go, this is home, this is where I've trained, and I think it's always going to be like that, because I love it here. I take the classics, Romeo and Juliet, Carmen, Swan Lake, and I kind of turn them around or turn them on their head. The possibilities are endless, but it's a challenge for me because to fuse ballet and African dance is not very easy in terms of word shift, in terms of music. You know, it's not the most natural of things, but I'm drawn to things that I think are impossible.
In front of the baseline is a life-size bronze sculpture of legendary songstress Brenda Fassie. Fassie was South Africa's top-selling artist who was known fondly as Marble. Brenda died in 2004 at the age of 39, cutting short a career as South Africa's Queen of Pop. After the sun goes down, Newtown puts on its glad rags and opens its doors for lovers of good food and good music. The Baseline is arguably Johannesburg's foremost live music venue. A short stroll down the Jazz Walk of Fame takes us back to the square, where a selection of venues offer food, music, and good conversation well into the Johannesburg night.
There's a huge amount of capital and human capital that's gone into building the city. And it has got such great stories and great memories and bad memories and not such good stories, but they all need to be told. And that makes Johannesburg a very dynamic, different kind of a place. I think it's really what brings the excitement to it. It really has been the worst of places, and yet it's the hope for the future.